We now live in a state of constant fear, imported and domestic fear. Have you ever wondered how our so-called elites can know all the symptoms but flatly refuse to act to stop it? They talk in detail about the work our security services undertake on a daily basis, almost as if we the people should be grateful and thankful that we are watched over and protected ever so vigilantly. Do you feel safe? Are you thankful? These people are always known to the security services, but still manage to cause bloodshed and mayhem. Even in Europe, they are watched before an atrocity occurs. So please tell me what good it does to know that they exist and that they are being watched. The government repeatedly say that the attack is condemned and that it will not divide us. The only people to blame for the division are the government and their inability to tackle the problem of Mohammedism. It is not an attack on democracy. It is an attack on innocent people by a backward, cowardly ideology of hate and intolerance. Would we, in fact, need this level of protection if the problems that exist were dealt with? You see, the threat we face is very real. It's not a figment of a dystopian imagination or the rantings of the perceived far right. This has happened many times, and it will not stop until the cancer of Mohammedism is cut out of all Western countries. They are not a minority of extremists, as the government would have you believe, and each one works within a network of radicals, whether that be through the trilogy, local populace, the local mosques, the prisons, or online. These Mohammedan terrorists mean us harm and have a callous disregard for human life. We value life, they value death, and the indoctrination is the trilogy they follow. Orthodox Islamic terrorist groups such as IS base their fundamental beliefs on the Quran, the Hadith and the Surah. So do Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda, etc. But again, the quislings in the Houses of Parliament will tell you it is nothing to do with Islam, when in fact it has everything to do with Islam. But hey, let's tackle the far right ideals, because of course it's known that the so-called far right bomb, stab, murder, rape, behead and radicalise others, right? A different idea to the extreme left is called out as Nazi, racist, bigoted and fascist, and we are all tarred with the same brush and packaged neatly into a little extremist box, and that fits the narrative to silence us perfectly. Now use the same treatment towards radicals and Islamists, and you will be told they are not all the same. You cannot smear the whole of Islam over the actions of a minority. Don't tar them all with the same brush. Surely what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. At any one time, 3,000 radical extremists are under surveillance right now in the UK. Is this acceptable, knowing that anyone could strike at any time? The policing over these numbers is just incredible, and also at a great cost to the taxpaying public. And even with these rabid dogs being under constant surveillance, they commit atrocities all across the West. Every time, as Sadiq Khan puts it, an incident occurs, notice please the no mention of terrorist, they are 99% of the time known to the security services and were being watched. Wouldn't it be easier to just ship them out to a country that supports their ideology? British born or not, if you mean a person of this land harm or have radical views, you are a risk and must be deported. It is as simple as that. Put it this way, over a few attacks years ago from pit bulls against other dogs or against people, the breed was banned from this country. The actions of a few animals demonised the rest. Some deaths have been caused in this country through people using their mobile devices whilst driving. And by the way, I don't condone these actions, but what I am doing is merely pointing out what the ruling elite will do when these problems arise. But again, the problem existed, and to stop the accidents from happening, everyone is banned from using a mobile device. Would it not make sense to eliminate Islamic extremism from the countries that suffer because of radical indoctrination? More people will lose their lives. More people will be injured. So again, I will ask you, do you feel safe? Do you feel protected? Sadiq Khan once said, and I quote, "Moderate Muslims are Uncle Toms." Does that not then make himself a radical, or was he calling himself an Uncle Tom? This is the mayor of our capital city. What sort of a message does that send to others? And just to finish, the news are telling these terrorists the best way to carry out the attacks, the numbers of police and the areas in which the most damage can be done. Absolutely unbelievable. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected by this cowardly act. Rabies was once eradicated from this country because of the threat it posed. Is it not time to eradicate Mohammedism completely?